It's Judy on the radio, building dreams and achieving more, telling it just like it is. Most of all, keeping it real. Are you ready for real talk? Changing lives and communities. Real talk. Saving all our families. Real talk. Bringing hope for you and me. Real talk. Real talk with Judy. Real talk with Judy on the radio. Real talk with Judy. Real talk with Judy on the radio.
Well, good morning and welcome to the Real Talk with Judy live radio show. I am Dr. Judy, your Real Talk host. And I want to thank you so very much for being with me today, Tuesday, April the 13th, right here on Hallelujah 95.3 FM. Also, thank you for joining me on Facebook Live, Instagram, YouTube at Real Talk with Judy, live radio. I want you to take a few seconds, if you would, on Facebook and Instagram and YouTube. If you would, go ahead and do some hearts. Go ahead, if you would, now and share the show. Go ahead and share it now. If you are on your radio or at your desk or wherever you are, hurry up and please contact your family and call your friend. Call them, text them, email them, and let them know that Dr. Judy talking about real issues with real people, real conversation, and useful information. Just keeping it real with Dr. Judy is on the air right now. Hurry and get them on, okay? And if you have not subscribed to my YouTube channel, I invite you to subscribe today at Real Talk with Judy live radio show on YouTube. If you have not yet liked my Facebook page, I invite you to do so now. And it's at Real Talk with Judy on Facebook Live, okay? Also, hello to my mama, Dr. Irma Hunter Wesley, the reason I am who I am, and to my awesome and amazing husband, Superintendent Gerald Mandrell. He is the reason I get to do what I do. And to my amazing staff, to my amazing team, not staff, to my amazing team who helps me deliver an award-winning show to a great audience every Tuesday. Thank you so very much. And to you, the greatest audience ever, thank you for tuning in to the Real Talk with Judy live radio show. And to my UK PR director, my brother, Mr. Angus Holden in Scotland, thank you for being with us today. And to all of the business investing sponsors of the Real Talk with Judy live radio show, which are being scrolled on the screen, thank you so very much, because you are the wheel of the Real Talk with Judy show. And I personally invite those of you who have yet to become an investing partner to consider doing so, to consider becoming a partner with the Real Talk with Judy show. And you can go to my webpage at www.realtalkwithjudy.com for more information on becoming a Real Talk with Judy investor. And thank you all for tuning in again. This promised to be a great show as we get leader wisdom from one of the greatest, most phenomenal women I know on this side of heaven, And I'm going to introduce her. I greatly admire this young lady. Angus, thank you so very much, sir. And I have the distinct honor to have one of the most amazing women of Tallahassee, who is definitely a trendsetter. She has an MBA from Webster University in Jacksonville. She's the vice president for workforce development. She's a member of the Florida Workforce Development Association. She's a member of the National Association of Workforce Development Professional. She's LT Leadership Tallahassee, Class 24. She's Leadership Florida, Class 33. Board of Trustee for Florida A&M University, board member of the Greater Tallahassee Chamber of Commerce, board member of Early Learning Coalition of the Big Bend Region Finance Committee. She's a board member of the Leon County Economic Development Board member. She has done a plethora of things. She has received, yeah, I kid you not, probably over 100 rewards, both locally, in our state, nationally. She's a leader extraordinaire. She's a leader extraordinaire. She just she's going to tell you about the workforce innovation. She's going to tell you all of that. But I am so honored and so pleased. I could go on and on about her. Really, she has accomplished so much. Recognized as Tallahassee top 26 women in business, Department of Children Woman of Excellence Award, United Way of the Big Bend Advocacy Award, Distinguished Leadership Award, Setup, Public Service Commission, Lifeline Leader Award, the Martin Luther King Jr. Distinguished Leader, Living the Dream Award, Bethel Empowerment Foundation, Phenomenal Woman, Making a Difference, and the list goes on and on. It is my honor and pleasure to present to some and introduce to others my distinguished guest, Miss Kimberly Moore.
Hello, Dr. Judy. I'm so glad to be here with the team. Just so excited.
Kim, I am so happy to have you with us today. I know that we talk every time I see you. We talk. I like to sit down and pick your brain. You're just a phenomenal woman. And one of the reasons why I wanted you on here, other than giving leaders wisdom today, is today you are being honored by the Real Talk with Judy live radio show for being a woman worthy of being honored.
Thank you so much. This means more than you know. I mean, it really does. So thank you for the opportunity.
Yeah, I mean, Kim, as I watch you, you're changing lives. You're helping people to dream again. You're helping people to live again. You're helping, I mean, you're giving people life. I'm watching you, what you're doing, the program that you and your team are bringing together, the people. I saw the graduation. I mean, what you're imparting into people and empowering other leaders to go further than we think we can go. Not even to the sky. You're not even taking us to the sky. You got us going out there in the hemisphere somewhere and
we're going beyond. We're going beyond, and everybody has an opportunity to do just that. And that's what it's about, empowering.
Yeah, and that's what you do. You do that so well. And so you are going to receive a certificate of women worthy of celebration, and you're going to have a special gift delivered to you. A special gift delivered to you because this is your day on the Real Talk with Judy live radio show.
Well, Dr. Judy, you know how to make someone feel special. Again, you're right. Every time we talk to each other, we're talking about visioning and dreaming. You're a dreamer, you're a doer. And it's just really, really wonderful to be able to have a conversation with you today, as well as with your viewers and listeners.
Thank you. So we're going to go ahead and get this show started, Kim.
Yes.
Okay. So some of the people watching know you, and some of the people who's watching are meeting you for the very first time. And so I would like for you to just begin to tell the audience something about yourself that you would like them to know. You know, I started to just put your whole resume on and let that speak for itself. But let's tell the audience something about you, Kim.
Okay, so I'll give them the beginning because I think it helps frame the conversation on who I am, and honestly just led by my faith and then the work that I get the opportunity to do. I am the country girl at heart. Kim Moore grew up in Greenville, Florida, hour east of Tallahassee, a girl that grew up with the dream of becoming a chief executive officer. Did not know what space I'd do it in, but knew that that's what I wanted to be as my next step. I grew up middle child, two sisters, one younger, one older, realizing that through the guidance of my parents, that they were making an investment in us that really went beyond a dollar value. That investment was that you can and will be somebody. So that has defined my path of wanting to do my very best to give back and to show honor and recognition to two people that have honestly meant the world to me and what they've done for me, and painting that picture of that you can do and be anybody that you want to be. You have to work hard for it, but it will come. So, again, when I think about me and everything that's been accomplished over time, it goes back to family, goes back to being in church every Sunday. You thought you were going to overdose on it, but you realize now as we mature in our faith that was the right place. Mm-hmm.
I like that. So you thought we were going to overdose
on that faith, but it is indeed what we need. Yeah.
And Kim, you just said something. You said that you knew what you wanted to do, but you didn't know what space you were gonna do it in. How did you find that space?
So again, at 14, those that know me, at 14, I knew that I wanted to be a chief executive officer. I read a lot. And the great thing that I tell people, it's not about the things that, it's not about the things that you don't have. It's the places that you can go, and reading allowed me to do that. I would say I told people, I said, I didn't realize we were poor until, you got to an adult. You're like, oh, I didn't know that. But reading, I was rich in so many other ways that my parents afforded me that opportunity. So I did not know, honestly, and I will tell you the secret that, I've shared with other people about how it's important to feed the dreams of others, until my senior year of high school, when my English teacher, Laura Young, asked me and challenged me. And that's why we need to challenge other people. Challenge me to write down what it was that I wanted to do. I had never voiced to my parents or sisters or anyone else that I wanted to be that CEO. Not until senior year of high school, she said, write it down. And I went back up to her desk and it said, I wanted to get a government job. And she said, Kim, your grades are, much higher than that. Is that really what you want to do? And I said, I wanted to be a CEO. And she says, go put that down. License to dream. So again, critical points that we have. And so I set about, because she said I could do it, then that's what I was going to do. My second job out of college ended up being in the area of workforce development, which is what I've made my career around. But I started off as an OPS worker. We all know that's temporary worker. Right. 7 years later, I was running the organization, but it was because of the dream, the seed, the feeding of that by way of Miss Young that encouraged me and pushed me on outside of, of course, my parents as well.
You and Kim, you mentioned something, and you said feed the dream, the other, challenge other people, and you do that so well. I mean, I would have to agree with Ms. Grissom. She said that you're a class act and a quality example for young and older women, and you're a class act, and you have such confidence in what you do and your belief in what people can do. So have you built that from 14? Well, it sounds like number one, it sounds like you had some real good parents.
Indeed. I always tell people we understood working hard. Again, growing up with sisters, my daddy assigned one side of the yard for me and one side for my sister, and with our lawnmowers. So I tell people, though I was CEO, I understand the hard work part of it too. With that said, though, I understood what it meant to me for somebody to believe in me, even though they had not yet seen it. They believed that there was something in me that was powerful enough that it could live out this dream, and that they were helping me to do that. I now take that on for myself to invest in other people. There is power in the voice. There is power in the message. There is power in hope. And one has to, sometimes you can be beaten down. And so people think, one door closed, that they can't get back up. But there is hope. And I think we all owe it to each other to be that, for inspiration, for guidance, for just encouragement. You can do it. The past is behind you. Future is much brighter. Let's do it together.
Yeah. Again, to all of the audience that's listening by way of radio and those of you on Facebook and YouTube, thank you so very much for joining me with my special guest, Kimberly Moore, who is the Vice President of Workforce and Corporation. And she's giving us leaders' wisdom, a leader wisdom to leaders, a leader's wisdom to leaders. And y'all take down these nuggets already. I'm here writing, taking nuggets because she's absolutely fantastic. Kim, you mentioned CEO. And for what made you want to be a CEO? What did you read up on it?
I read it, and here's the thing, I always saw, and this is so funny when we think about gender, but I always saw the people being in the boardroom. This is TV and reading about it. They're in the boardroom, they're making decisions, tough times. This person has to go in, save the day, make the decisions. You got to call it. It's a hard job, it's stressful, but they're making decisions and they're making lives better. I wanted to do that. I wanted to be prepared for that moment that when it was all down to a bottom line, a decision had to be made. And that's literally, that's my 1.0. I'm living out my 2.0 now, because again, when I think about the 1.0, going in as a temporary worker and then ultimately becoming Florida's youngest CEO to lead the workforce system still in Florida, I lived out my 1.0. I owe it to my parents, I owe it to my faith, and I owe it to Laura Young, who said, yes, you can and you will. Doesn't matter that you haven't done it. Doesn't matter that there's not anyone in your family that's done that particular job. You work hard, you stay focused, you will do it. So it's it's about the impossibilities, making them possible.
That is real talk, y'all. Doesn't matter if anyone has done it in your family or not. If you got a vision, you work hard, you can do it. The youngest entrepreneur in the state of Florida. So she lived out the 1.0. Now she's doing the 2.0. Kim, what is something that you wish someone had told you during your career journey?
I think the thing that I probably wish that someone would have told me is just the value that comes in giving back to others. I knew what I wanted to do for myself. I wanted to be a CEO. That was all me. What I didn't understand and certainly appreciate now, there is much more satisfaction to be gained from helping and empowering others and living and seeing them live out their dreams. That's great that we have an example through our own lives, but it is so much more rewarding for me to see other people succeed and to know that were it not, that planting that little nugget, that how powerful that is. So that's where I am now in my own evolution. The ability, the love that you can have with seeing someone else experience greatness. It doesn't have to be you under the spotlight.
Wow, this is awesome. And we're watching you. Those of us in Tallahassee, those of us who view you everywhere, because you're just not Tallahassee leader. You're receiving awards and everything all across the state of Florida, and you are involved. So it's not just Tallahassee, it's everywhere. And I want to thank you, Kim, for and you're not snooty. You're not you're not untouchable. You're touchable, and you love to share your knowledge. And I had one young lady, she called me a mentor, who stated she was not impressed with some people because they won't share. She asked for information, or she think that we should be sharing. And why would you say it is that, in your opinion, Kim, there's some people do not want to share where they have come from to help others out?
I think first I'd say is that our stories and testimonies were never meant for just us. They were meant for other people. It was never meant for us to just have on our own. So I think sometimes, when folks haven't experienced that lesson that your life is really about service to others, then they are holding on to something. And I would say to some degree, a lack of confidence, because my strength comes from seeing other people do. And I think the more that we can understand that if we open our hands, open our hearts, open our mind, that's when things get better. That's when you see it, multiplied by a lot of people. No one should want to be the only individual in the room. You should always be lifting up others, opening the door for others. Everything that I've done in my career where I may have been first, it was always with the thought that I would make it better for the next person that came. Not that I'd be the only one, but that I would just be one of many.
Yes. Wow. I love it. That's real talk, you all. Whenever we're the first, we're open the doors for someone else. We're not going to be the only one in the room. So we might as well bring other sisters. And that's why she's being honored today, because she has opened so many doors for so many other people. Would you describe a time you were scared? I mean, really scared during your journey?
Absolutely. I am in the area of workforce development, and I said I was the youngest CEO for workforce development in Florida. Well, for our area, I was the first female and I was the first person of color. So the fear factor is that, what if you're not good enough? What if you're a one-hit wonder and you're walking into all these rooms of people that have, this expectation? Thankful again for faith, I realized that he's already prepared. You're prepared for each of these moments. When you're on your leadership journey, you should always be working in that next job. What do I mean by that? If you're currently, and I can give you my background, all through college, I worked at McDonald's. When I was a cashier, I wanted to know what the manager did. When I was a case manager, I wanted to know what the senior case manager did. When I was a senior case manager, I wanted to know what contracts and management did. When I got to contracts and management, I wanted to know what the COO did. By the time I got to COO, I wanted to know what the CEO did. And that is the path. It is not about living in the position of where you're at. It's where you want to be. Every day should be stepping in towards your destiny. What's next?
Yeah, that's real talk, you all. Always preparing for the next. We're always preparing for the next.
You live in the next, not in the now.
Oh, wow. You live in the next and not in the now. So Kim, let me ask you. So in the next, when you were preparing to go to the next, did you already have your plan ready? For instance, if I go, Tommy, used to work at McDonald's too, the commercial.
Yes.
That was one of my favorite commercials. But so he started sweeping. So as the cashier, did you in your mind or write down your next? I don't know what exactly the next is in McDonald's from the cashier. What would that be? The manager or the
you could be a swing manager. So when I became a swing manager, the thought was then, how do you become the best swing manager? It was never to settle. It was always to figure out, how do you own the space that you're in? I may not be CEO, but by golly, you're going to know my name and I'm going to be the best cashier. I may not be the vice president yet, but you're going to know me as director. And it's going to be with a spirit of excellence, that when the door opens and when the opportunity comes, preparation would have already been there. I am ready to seize my moment.
Oh, this is good. Audience, thank you so very much. If y'all have any questions for Miss Kim, ask him. She is dropping wisdom. She is dropping nuggets out of this world. She is dropping. And so you got to already be prepared when the door opens.
Yes. For those that say, hey, I'm only going to do what's on my job description. That's not on my job description yet. Well, then you're going to have a problem when you get to it, when it is on your job description. My goal is to be ready day one. And I will submit to you that when I was thinking about CEO, it happened alone. As a matter of fact, it happened in the orientation for my temporary job with the company. I asked the then CEO, what did it take to do your job? What did you have to do? I was temporary, but your vision for yourself and your future has to be grand. Don't limit yourself. Dreams are free. The work you got to do, but dreams are free. Why limit?
Oh my! Oh, Kim, this is good. Thank you so very much for being here today. So you asked the CEO and leaders listening, because these are leaders on here today. Leaders listen. She asked the CEO what it takes to do his job, or to do his job.
Absolutely.
And so, listen, leaders, ask people where you want to go, how they got there, or what does their job entail. Is that right, Kim?
Absolutely. And here's the thing. When a lot of people think, well, you got to know something about it in order to do it. No, you just have to have a willingness to learn. Always, every day should be about learning. So I didn't know contracts and compliance, but I knew that I was inquisitive enough that was I call it the rung that I needed to climb in order to get to the CEO. So I wanted to accomplish that. So I asked the person in that spot, could you teach me? Could you help me understand this? So what did I then do? Start writing contracts. By the time I got the COO, I was already doing it. So again, a lot of people find harm in that. I'm not going to do extra if it's not on my job description. I would ask you to lose that. If you want to be the best version of yourself, then make the best investment in yourself. No one can take knowledge. Learn. Make learning an important part of what you do every day. Not when it's promotion time or not when you hear about the job. It's a little bit too late then because somebody's already been preparing. Somebody's already been up at night studying for the opportunity that you think you're waiting on. These people aren't waiting. How do you operate in the ready, in the now, day one, turnkey?
Oh, this is awesome. And y'all, I'm not kidding. I don't think I could have gotten a better person from national TV somewhere. And sometimes, Kim, I think we miss the value of people that we have right here amongst us. And you are definitely, I'm so glad you're my mentor. I am.
You know, and it's the funny thing, Dr. Judy, you know, every time I see you, what do I have? A list, a to-do list. Got to do this, got to do this, always. And I think that's how we have to always be pushing each other. That's great. I celebrate your success now, but I believe that you can go one step higher and you can go 2 steps higher. Let's do this. Yeah.
Yeah. And because you all, when I saw the radio show moving forward and going different places, and I saw what Kim has accomplished and saw how she was making it, I asked Kim, I told Kim, I want to sit down with you. I want you to help me see more, help me to see how we can take this further. You know, that's what I do with Dot D. I sit down, I want to pick his brain because his brain is so rich with everything. So I like to sit down and find out where can we go? Where can I go? What do you see in my show?
Absolutely. What do you see? And here's the other thing. A lot of people might look at it, well, maybe that I'll come across as weak. Like, no, you're the smartest person in the room to realize that there's always opportunity and space that you have an opportunity to cover. Why not? So no, I love that about you. You're always learning to, always willing to ask.
Yeah. And another thing, Kim, I told them, don't come on my show looking any kind of way and doing it. Prepare like you going. If Oprah was to ask you to come, or Tyler Perry, you would block everything off. That's how you have to do my show.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Have a standard of excellence and operate with that. I tell people, don't lower your standard, rise to the occasion. I'll give an example to our listeners and viewers right now. I remember when I was thinking about the CEO job, and when I looked at the job description, because again, I'm encouraging everybody to look at the job description for the job that you want, not the one that you're in, the one that you want to get to next. Where are the gaps? Where the gap was, I needed an advanced degree. I told the board of directors, don't lower your standard, keep your standard. Let me rise to the occasion. We should be about rising, not getting somebody to lower their standard because it's me. Rise. If you do that, you can continue to go forward.
I know sometimes you have to be firm, Kim.
Yes.
I know you do.
Yes.
Tell me how you handle what do I want to call them? Lazy workers or people who may not dream. I know that you said her name is Lori Young.
Yes, Lori Young. Mm-hmm.
Okay. You said that she knew you were going somewhere, but she didn't yet see it, but she knew it. And so she kept encouraging you. How do you handle those people who you see it in them? You know that they should go better, go harder. How do you handle that? And I know they call you mean because they call me mean. They got to call you mean but how do you handle that, Kim?
Well, I always tell people I'm investing in your long term, not your short term. Your short term is in front of me now. Your long term is your future. Your future is beyond me. So I'm prepared to do that kind of investment. So if you're prepared to do that with me, I tell people I match motivation. You're motivated, I'm motivated. And if you believe in you, I believe in you. When I onboard somebody, I ask them, what is it that you aspire to do? I don't care if it's they say that they want to do my job. Then my goal becomes, how do I help you to get there? How do I help you to get there? And I tell them it's not an easy path. It requires consistency, it requires dedication, and it certainly requires focus. If you're prepared to do those things, then we can do this. If not, I will, everybody knows reputation precedes me. I operate with the velvet hammer. Velvet hammer, it's going to be nice, and I'm probably going to be saying it professionally, but you're going to know that then this may not be the opportunity for you right now. Not to say that the door is closed permanently, but it may not be the one for you right now. Mm-hmm.
I like that. The velvet hammer.
Velvet hammer. Yeah. We're still closing it out, but by golly, I'm going to do it in a soft way for you because I'm not, trying to move people at a point where you kill spirits and dreams. Don't want to do that. But folks should be encouraged that just because you have made it to a point doesn't mean that you settle and that you don't operate with a level of energy to make other things happen. You got to continuously. I tell people, I feel like I'm interviewing every day. I'm in my job. But if I operate with the spirit of I'm being interviewed every day, each day I'm working harder and harder, not less and less because, hey, they know who I am. I don't operate like that. I operate every day is like day one. What is there to prove? What do I need to do different? How do I elevate my game?
Wow, I'm sitting here. I mean, I know you are powerful. This is phenomenal, Kim. Thank you so very much. You just said something. Don't too many leaders say. Don't too many people say. You say even because once somebody say, I want your job, or not this, but I want, you just said you're gonna help them become the best, even to do your job, which means there's other jobs just like your job. But how do, as leaders, the leaders listening here, how do we really not just say that, but really help people without feeling insecure, intimidated, or whatever, to help people even if they want the job that we're doing?
Well, the thought is that just like someone gave me an opportunity, that then CEO that I asked as a temporary worker was the same one that opened the door for me that said, this is your spot, you're transitioning, I've groomed you. There was an openness about it. There wasn't a closed door to learning that made him, here's a great thing. When you do that, you end up with a greater team member, somebody who's willing to go the extra mile for you because why? You said you were making the investment in them first. So it's never an issue of that, hey, I'm going to feel minimized or hey, I'm going to feel less. Actually, it makes me a better leader because I bring on strong people who are ready day one. Because here's the thing, the likelihood of anybody being in their job 30 years is slim. That's what I say for my own career, that there'll be a 3.0. I would want nothing else than folks that I've worked with that are as passionate and care about service to this community than them to end up in my role. That to me is where you see the benefit of your work, when you've helped someone else to get to that next step. It's not my final game and I don't want to be their final game. We're always talking about what's next.
This is phenomenal. This is you might have to get more than a certificate. Get a trophy. Yes, all of this is so phenomenal. What are leadership qualities that you are continuing to work on?
I think the leadership quality that I'm continuing to work on, I think I've always operated with a level of focus and attention to detail, but there's something to be said about balancing that. I don't think that there's enough leaders that, you work so hard that you sometimes get lost in the work. And that's an area that I would say to myself that there are so many good things to do. in your community, for your community, with your community. But there has to be a stepping back moment that you kind of do the self-help and kind of focus on, getting your own energy kind of at the place that it needs to be. So I would say that's the area that I'm working on, because again, I've always been passionate about my work, and you just need to know that there are opportunities that you need to take that breath. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I love someone that asked a question earlier and I overlooked it. They asked, how do one own their space? How do you own that space?
Owning my space, and I'll give you an example, is honestly through preparation. I shared with you when you said, hey, what was the thing that you were most fearful of? And I said, walking into a room and not being enough. But I would say to you that I said the only way to address that is to know that you are continuously learning and growing, but also realizing that you're human. What allows me to be me is that I'm okay with talking about the moments that I wasn't at my greatest, because I could follow that up with saying, here is how I work to address that. So I own my space by continuously learning, also by continuously putting people around me that honestly are smarter than that. You're feeding from them. Again, a lot of people say, well, I want people that are just like me. I said, well, then you're not going to grow. I mean, you need to have this mixed up crowd, if you will, people that are in motion trying to get there, as well as those that have already seen it. The two of you combining forces, that's what's going to create the magic. So that would be my thought on that. Mm-hmm.
Wow. And I know that there's a plethora of great leadership qualities that would make a leader effective and all of that. But what 5 would you list?
I think the 5 that I would list is certainly when you think about integrity, you got to have that. I think certainly trustworthiness, visionary, flexible. We found that with COVID, if you're a person that, you're stuck and you can only do it one way, then this won't be the space for you. And then the other would be compassionate, because I've talked about 4 strong hard things and that are, value pushed, but then compassionate, because you got to realize that everybody won't get it. Everybody won't understand it the first go around. So how do you have some, not only compassion, but empathy of remembering when you remember when you were that person?
Yes.
Again, it goes back to the life that we've lived. It was never for us. It was for us to help better understand, to serve other people.
Wow. So how and you mentioned empathy. So how do you feel traits like empathy and vulnerability play a role in your leadership?
Here's the thing. I'm not afraid to be vulnerable. I'm not afraid to tell my team, I don't know, but let's learn together. There's no false sense of, hey, I got to know it all. You don't. I mean, if you operate in that space, you will always be a leader that's operating in fear. I won't lead in fear. I will lead in focus and with a deliberateness about myself, that I understand that we each get better, and that I won't, if I'm believing that I'm the only one in the room that ought to hold the key to all knowledge. I don't. Everybody, I tell my team members, everybody I bring on board, we're all managers. You know what? You're a manager, I'm a manager. Everybody's equal. They're like, well, maybe my role on the front desk. I said, you're a manager of the front desk. We are doing it together. We operate with shared governance. Yeah.
I love it. I love it. So what has been some of your biggest challenges as a leader, and how would you tell the leaders on here how to handle challenges?
I think, the biggest challenge, if I were to look at, externally, it would be in recognition that, I was the only woman of color, and the, being in the workforce development space. So for me, it's a challenge, but it's also an area of opportunity. I made sure that I created, through Workforce Plus, a mentoring program. Any leader that wanted to know more about how to get to my job or how to move up within the organization, they could. I didn't care if they didn't report directly for me. The only thing that I asked them to do, and everybody knows this about me, come in with what your objective is. What do you want to get from it? And I'm your accountability partner. So if we're going to do this, that's what we're going to do. We're going to work hard towards getting your goals. When you're not there, then I won't be there. Internally, I think, everything that other people experience, you work jobs where everybody's, in an equal position. And because you're wanting to be very serious about your job and your future, some folks view that as, oh, here we go again, just trying to, learn everything. And golly, why do you want to act like a goody two shoes? And so you run into that. But again, that was the early on in my career. But I realized that some of those same people who said that along the way, they're still in their spots. And I've led the organization. So you just have to think about it, hear it, certainly be respectful of people's views, but don't let them define you. So that was probably, the bigger thing as I was an early leader of, you hear so many conversations and you're like, well, maybe it's true. Again, hear it, but hear it with the filter. Just because they say it, that is not your truth. Yeah.
Yeah. And how do you do that? Because I know in talking with leaders there, Pastor Judy or Dr. Judy, this, and they're saying, I'm trying to do this and I'm trying to do this and I'm just getting off. What would you say to leaders?
I ask myself the question, and I ask other people, when they tell me, well, this person has said this about me and they're ruining my reputation and they're saying this, I said, turn it into a question. Are you doing those things? And they said, no. I said, then move on. You're wasting too much of your time and your brain cells on something that's not the truth. Let them be. You keep moving. And again, it's all about distractions. And I realize that now. You cannot be distracted and hearing every voice that's to your right or left. You're going forward. That's my focus. It's what's in front of me, not what's to the right or to the left. Again, not dismissive, but realizing that people have their own agendas, and sometimes we didn't put that agenda together, which means that they have their own private one. So I normally leave that with them.
They said we didn't put it together.
We didn't put it together. Yeah, we didn't do that together. So I'll let you keep yours, and I'll just keep pushing. Yeah.
Yeah, we didn't do that.
Yes.
How would you tell leaders? What advice would you give to leaders to build themselves to be well-rounded? I know we're going to read and not, but what advice would you give to us?
It is absolutely critical to be effective in any role. A lot of people say, well, I just want to be the very best that I can do within my job. Well, the job, that's just one place of being effective. If you're thinking about elevating your game and moving up to a C-suite level, it involves, not only what you're doing in the workspace, but also what you're doing in the community. What's your civic engagement? How many different areas have they seen you operate in? What boards have you served on? Did you serve in officer roles, or were you just a member? I mean, all of that matters, because here's the thing, that when you are applying for a job and the job requires, maybe leadership experience, and maybe you've been working in the same position at your job and you say, oh, I don't have that. I would submit to you that your board experience where you've served as an officer demonstrates leadership as well. So just because you can't maybe perhaps get it on your job, you can get it in other places. So don't get lost in the fact that, hey, I'll never meet this job description, because there are other ways to get the experience, and don't miss out on that. Each year in December was what I do. I assess kind of what I've done for the year over the course of that year, and then what do I want to do in the new year. I look at what's missing, that if I had to be, brought forward from anybody, that, would I come across as this well-rounded individual that's involved civically as well as professionally with the workforce piece? What would that look like? For me, when I look at my own resume, I see workforce development. That's been a constant. She does that consistently. But I also see she's been involved with United Way on the human service side of it. I see that she's been involved in economic development, because she's looking at workforce development for our community and for attracting other businesses. When I look at Big Bend Hospice, that she also has the compassionate side of her, and what she realizes that end of life, and how even that ought to be beautiful. So I want the work that I've done to be able to tell the story, even though everybody knows I've been in workforce development for forever. But if you put everything together, you get the rainbow, you get the picture, you get the portfolio.
That is awesome. Yeah. Yeah. And so I was to say to the leaders on here, if you're not involved in your community, look on there. Look and see who's looking for board members. But make sure you're going to serve. Make sure you're going to serve. And then when you get appointed to the board, look for opportunities to become one of the leaders.
Correct. I tell people, if you're doing it for a resume, to add to your resume, then you're in it for the wrong reason. Everything that I have on there is because I was passionate and it meant something to me. It meant something to me, and it ought to mean something to you, because that's when you're going to be the best board member.
Kim, Val said you need to run for governor.
I tell people again, looking for it, it would never be off my list of service to our community and service to Florida. I believe that when you're given an opportunity and a forum, it matters how you not only communicate and convey what the work is, but how you do the work. And so I've always been passionate about that. So my mom would not, if she's listening, she would not want me to say that, because she wants me to steer clear. But I will tell you all that it's not off my radar.
Oh, well, and I tell you what, if you run for governor, I'm going to work with your campaign.
I believe it. And again, it goes back to the conversation of that you're running before you run. You're working before you work. Again, all that is saying you're making yourself and being prepared for the opportunity. Perhaps it may never be governor. Perhaps it may be commissioner. It could be a number of different things, right. But you are readying yourself. You're not limiting. You're not waiting to the last minute that people will be able to see, well, heck, she's been serving all her life. It's not a one-hit wonder. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I love it. And I know we've been talking about workforce development, and you're the vice president. Will you tell the people, y'all, this is amazing. I mean, the opportunities we have. The first, I'll let Kim tell it. We have the first. There's no other program like this program she's about. Go ahead, Kim. I'll let you tell it.
I love the work that we're in when you think about second chances and creating opportunities for others. When people say that you got a period and you realize that, hey, I got commas, and that's what education does, creates commas. It's the what's next. It's the what's next. So we're operating without periods, with commas, working with individuals who are looking to be productive citizens in our community. We're currently operating in 5 prisons, 1 work release site, providing vocational and workforce training. Why? Because we want them to be ready day one. The program that Dr. Judy is talking about is the first in the state of Florida. Where we are working with inmates, transitioning offenders that are in work release. They're on our campus, participating in the commercial vehicle driving program. They have graduated with a career. They got their CDL driver's license. These folks will be able to work while they're completing their sentences. Now, when you think about, again, second chances and saying that there's opportunity, there's nothing better that sells that than the fact that they are ready to go to work right now. While they're in their moment that they thought might be their end, it actually becomes their beginning. It becomes their beginning. Mm-hmm.
Wow. I saw those. I was like, wow, this is awesome. Yeah. And then the first of its kind in the state of Florida. Kim, I know you love people, and I know you, the second chances, and really, and I stated earlier that you help people dream. You give people another hope at life. Mm-hmm. You really do. And you got so many people on here say they're going to work in your campaign, Kim.
Oh, that's wonderful. I appreciate every one of them, because it's about service to others. So you can't do it by yourself, but you can do it with everybody's help. Yeah.
So how can leaders put their focus on getting people mind up to par to even try to try to come back to make that living, to see themselves even doing a second chance at life?
Well, first you got to treat them like they're human. You got to that's the first step. And it's also to recognize that we've all had some setbacks. That's okay. That, we're here to brush you off, but we're doing it together. All of that matters when people, and you know it, whether you're a child or whether you're an adult, if you believe that someone's in your corner, you're going to fight harder than you would have if you thought you were alone. The message is that you're not alone. You're not alone. And you know what? You might not know the steps, but what's great about education is that you get to lay out the steps with the person. Here's the step. You're going to be okay. And even when you go to this next step, we're still here. This is what it's going to look like. People, I firmly believe that most people do want to do their very best. Mm-hmm. Oftentimes, folks just don't know what to do, how to do it. And because, and I won't say race specific, but absolutely, there's studies that show that oftentimes, whether it's voting or whether we're talking about the pandemic with the vaccine, there is something to be said about awareness of information. We don't always have all the information that we need to have. So it helps that, the person is getting the resources, that they know what they need to do, how to apply, how to get into the program. All of those things are important for making sure that whether it's transitioning offenders or whether it's someone that's coming through my adult education GED program, that this is not your end. We actually have a very high success rate for those that earn their GEDs that go on to pursue their degrees. That they're not thinking about what used to be the barrier of I don't have a high school diploma. Now they're thinking degrees because they were exposed. And I believe that if we do that just in general, people will be their very best of who they can become. And we're all striving for that. But again, we all don't know all the steps to get there. And I think, your show does that, and just a host of other groups that are trying to make sure that we educate, that we inform, and that when we educate and inform, that we're asking for a call to action, that people are going to act. But sometimes you got to be the impetus and be the first part of making sure that people know what that is to act on. And that, I believe, is where leaders can play an important role of just being that voice that says, here's how you do it. Don't just assume. We pass people along the roadway and whatever else, and there's a sign, and we just assume, person might be lazy. That's not the case. You don't know that story. So don't assume. Don't assume that the person who, is incarcerated, doesn't have a desire to take care of their family. You can't assume. And if you operate from the willing attitude of that they want to be better, I'm telling you, we can do so many great things, not only locally with our community, but statewide, nationally.
Yeah, I like that. Don't assume, because they did say this. That when you assume, it make a...
Or remember when they did this. We're a great memory bank until it's us. So you just gotta...
Yeah. You're right. Yeah, you're right. We're a great memory bank until it's us. My brother Chico, thank you so very much. My brother is my mentor for the show. He's one that I don't know if you know, he was up here. Chico the Virgo. He was up here in 1970, the early 70s, on the radio. Chico the Virgo with team with the afro, leg kind of bow. But that's my brother. He's awesome, and he's taught me so much as communicating and doing shows and different things. So Chico, thank you. Apostle Janet Clary said one of the greatest the words for this year is treat them like they're human. That's the statement for 2021. And that's what we have to do with all, people. So we're coming to the end. I wish we could go on and on. I am gonna do a women's symposium on leadership.
That means you'll just have to invite me back, Dr. Judy, and I look forward to it.
I love it. But Kim, before we leave, I just want you to take a moment to do a mentor leadership session with the leaders on here. I just want you to talk to us, give us some nugget, give us some wisdom, and give us some action steps.
Absolutely. So if you are a mentor and you're currently listening or watching, I want you to be intentional about your time that you're investing in others. What does that mean? That means that the people that you're serving and that you're working with, they should be matching the motivation level with you. You shouldn't be I call it experiencing anxiety and just being tired because you're helping them and they're not tired. You should be tired together because you're working towards their dreams. So what does that mean? Be accountable. Make sure that you operate as an accountability partner for them. If they're not moving towards their action steps, then you need to call it what it is. And maybe it's not the time for them to be mentored. You know, a lot of folks fall into, well, you know, I got 5 mentors. And if they're in the same place, you need to question yourself too. It's been a year. You haven't seen the progress. Make sure that, you know, you're making sure that it's a beneficial relationship for both parties. So don't do it just for the sake of mentoring. Accountability ought to be involved in it. If you are an inspiring leader, then please look for opportunities to lead. You can lead where you are, start day one. If you know that there's an opportunity that you're looking for, then what about then making sure that you have the skills needed to go into that opportunity? If there is someone that you are absolutely inspired by, reach out to them. Don't, you know, I will tell you, there are so many people that I interact with that I've never met before, but they reach out. They're asking for help or whatever the case may be about mentoring or just to have a conversation. I do it. So please don't let that be a barrier for you, whether it's me or whether it's anyone else in the community. Reach out. And the last thing that I probably offer as an action item for everybody, call, whether you're on the call again or whether you're viewing it, is to invest in someone else. We've talked about leaders and we've talked about leadership, and one would assume that I'm talking about each of you, but I'm actually talking about you doing that to someone else, investing in someone else. Be intentional about that. Find someone that you believe that, you know what, go ahead and plant that seed. You will never know the power of that unless you do it. So do that. Invest in someone else, and I believe, and I'm claiming it for all of us, that we will be far more richer as a human, and as a human race when we do that. So Dr. Judy, thank you so much for the opportunity to just share with the listeners. And I'm just excited for the work that you're doing. And I just pray blessings over it throughout.
Thank you so very much, Ms. Kimberly Moore, the Vice President of Workforce Development here in Tallahassee. She is absolutely phenomenal. You all, let's take what we have heard here today. Matter of fact, if you all will, please share this on your page. Please share this on your page. You have people that are not on my page, but if you would share this is information. These are nuggets. These are wisdom practices. These are action plans that we can take to become better leaders, become a better self. If you don't like to read, read. Mm-hmm. Read. If you want to go to the next place, you're not living now. You're living in the next. You're living in the next. Kim, thank you so very much for your time. And it has been a pleasure having you on the Real Talk with Judy show live. And you would definitely come back. You would definitely be one of those on the panel. We have so many phenomenal women on this audience, so many men on here. I want to thank all of you, the radio, Facebook, YouTube. Thank you all so very much for tuning in. And remember, if you have not liked the Real Talk with Judy page, go ahead and do so. If you have not become a subscriber to the YouTube channel of the Real Talk with Judy Live, just go ahead and do that. Okay. Y'all have a great one.
Real talk with Judy on the radio.